my dad used to say he was an atheist or agnostic, and he really didn't pay any attention to us. He, as a family, he was there, but never really there. He was very distant, very critical, and always had something better to do than spend time with his family. And I was a shy, chubby, red-haired girl with freckles, so I was teased all the time. I took it personally because I didn't have a daddy or anyone in my life telling me, oh, you're beautiful. The things that kids said to me on the playground, I accepted them. It's almost like I started wearing these name tags, like not wanted, unloved, rejected, and that became my identity. And I tried to pretend that everything was okay, but on the inside, I felt very alone. I'm desperate for someone to pick me, anyone. It's kind of your classic case of low self-esteem. So I tried to fill the emptiness, you name it, I tried it. Food, men, alcohol, shopping, even drugs. Pretty soon, hanging out at the bar became my nightly routine until I found out that I was pregnant and would be going through motherhood alone, a single mom. After I had my new son, I was excited to be a mom, but that emptiness and that loneliness was still there. Plus, I was carrying a lot of shame and guilt for having a baby with no dad in the picture. And I had gained about 70 extra pounds on my already chubby frame through my pregnancy. So my bar friends, my so-called friends, introduced me to a new diet remedy. So the cycle of addiction continued. I knew that this was not the life for me. I wanted to be a good mom, but I didn't know how to stop. Till one day when I accidentally overdosed on the cocaine. Thankfully, my son was safe with my parents and I was just driving to work. As I was driving, pretty soon I could hear my heart beating out of my chest, and I thought, oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna have a heart attack. I remember picking up a phone and calling a friend at work to tell him, tell my son I'm so sorry. As I look back on that day, so hard, but I remember I wasn't even sad that I thought I was gonna die, because I just thought I was some throwaway girl with no value, no worth. But I kept thinking my son deserves so much better. Thankfully, I was able to drive myself to a med center where they said, we need to call your mom right away. We need her to sign some papers for your son. He's going into foster care because we're not sure you're gonna make it. And the last words the medical team said to my mom that day were, you better say goodbye to your daughter. Our sense is that she will be dead on arrival. Thankfully, I didn't die. They were wrong. But I was quickly brought to my senses when I arrived at the hospital and the police showed up. One police officer in particular said words like misdemeanor, negligent homicide, felony. And then he said, is that what you want for your son? Like your mom. So unbelievably, no charges were filed against me that day. But I made a charge to myself that I would do whatever it took to get my life together. So I went home with no clue. And so I thought, okay, Cindy, think, if you could be like anyone, who would you want to be like? And I thought of a woman I barely knew, but she came into the restaurant where I worked and she had so much joy. She was so full of life. And I thought, I want what she has. So I picked up the phone and called her and said, I don't know if you remember me, but I need help. And this woman had the courage to share with me 4 simple words, but words that changed my life. When she said, Cindy, you need Jesus. I didn't know what that meant. I'd never read a Bible. I had no idea. I was 26 years old and had no idea. But I thought, well, good grief, I've tried everything else and nothing else worked. What do I have to lose? I knew that I had to completely change my surroundings if I was going to experience the freedom and the wholeness that I desperately desired, not just for me, but for my son. Because every day I looked at my 2-year-old little guy and his bright blue eyes, I knew that if I used again, it would probably kill me. And I didn't want to leave him. So I quit my job because a lot of my coworkers also used drugs. I left all of my so-called friends, the friends that suddenly didn't hang around when all of a sudden the police were watching me. I started to go to church as often as I could. And I had this mentor that would come by every single day. And on the days that I would say, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. And she would say, oh, guess what? I'm coming and I'm staying longer. And day by day, I was learning to get in touch with my feelings I had never felt before. I always stuffed it and numbed it. So even I would have to say, okay, Cindy, I feel lonely. I feel scared. I feel alone. But putting words to my feelings, because I learned I cannot selectively numb. If I numbed the pain, if I numbed the fear, I would also numb joy and numb hope. I also learned that I had to cling to God's word and see what was true about me, because so much of my choices was because I believed the lies that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't wanted. So I had to put a new tape, a new cassette in my mind, even if I felt like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm gonna mess up again. Oh, wait a minute. God's word says I'm accepted just the way that I am. Even if I don't feel like it, God's word says that I'm an overcomer. God's word said I'm strong. I'm fearfully, wonderfully made. Didn't feel that way, but I had to cling to the truth. I also had to ask for help. There were moments that I felt weak and I thought, I can't do this. And so I had to make a phone call. Not easy, but I had to make a phone call and say, hey, can you just come sit with me right now? Because I'm not feeling so well and I'm afraid of what I might do. Thankfully, to this day, 16 years later, I've not used drugs again, but alcohol wasn't as easy. Alcohol, there would be days where I'd say, okay, I'm not going to drink today. And at 5 o'clock, I'd be at the bar wasted again. So with alcohol, it was a lot of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But what I learned was that a setback was an opportunity for a comeback. And just because I used one time didn't mean I had to hit bottom, didn't mean I was a drunk, that I was a failure, that I was worthless. A setback was an opportunity for a comeback, to learn from my mistake, and next time I could make a different choice. So if you're struggling with addiction today, may I encourage you, hold on to hope. Be honest with how you're really feeling. It's okay to ask for help, but be honest with your feelings. Your feelings matter. Be open to letting others into your world. Find a mentor. You do not have to journey alone. Be prayerful, even if it's, God help me. When you're weak, He's strong. And be expectant. This does not have to be the end of your story. Look for His hand. He is with you.